So you're demonstrating here as if you're finishing a panel. You're not going to parge it. You're simply having it as a plain finish.
This is a plain rendered finish. Now this is the importance on any lime plastering, in fact any plastering, is to vigorously push the flow in a circular motion like this, and that compresses all the aggregate in together. You can see the aggregate shining through now, can't you? See that small
Yeah,
stone?
absolutely. You can see it coming through.
Because it's irregular and it's not round, you can bring that down. This will want several goes like this, but then that's compressing it, stopping it from opening up and stopping it from cracking. And then we'll just have a little piece here. And this dinky little hawk. And just run it up to the fluting then. Okay. It's really important. It's no good just putting it on and haphazardly just giving it a quick wipe over. You really have got to work it like this, and that will stop it from shrinking up. But lime is notorious for going off in patches. So you'll get a piece will go off here, and another piece, even on a small panel like this. One piece will be hard, and another section will be fairly wet. So you've got to keep your eye on it all the time.
So, is this the final
Yes.
operation? And would that now be classed as finished?
No, one other small detail. Once this is starting to go off, we'd use a sponge. We always use a sponge, a good quality Tyler sponge. And then the sponge is, again, done in a circular motion. Now, you see how it brings that little bit of fat to the surface?
Yeah.
Finishes the wall nicely. You see that? Where it's going off, you just run the sponge along. That cleans it all up. And you'd sponge it maybe 3 times again. Just go over it in a circular motion with the sponge.
When you say 3 times, do you leave a period of time between each sponge?
Not long, maybe half an hour.
Oh right,
just
very
to let
short.
It all pick up. You want to sponge it as it's nearly gone, and that just brings it up and seals the surface, gives that a smooth surface there. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll start with something like that in the centre here. Here, yeah.
Yeah, fine. That'll be wonderful.
Okay, let's do them round. So I'll do them in this sort of Jacobean style. Well, what you find is that most of these mammals in this style have this body shape that comes down with a barrel chest, comes up to the hocks, and the leg will come down. The leg will run up, turn back on itself like a vine. Again, the leg will come up, turn back on itself on a vine, and then that would roll away in a vine. And we bring him up a tail, like so. Rub that little bit out there. Front leg coming down. And bring the front leg round, like so again. Okay, so you'd stand back a couple of feet and have a look at it. You can see you've got the general shape now, haven't you?
Yep.
Of a hair running. Then it's just a matter of the faithful marigold glove to hold the stuff in.
Because you don't want the lime mortar on your hands, do
No,
you?
and it's too awkward to work on.
It dries the hands out and burns.
What I would probably do is bring this up just a fraction leaner, because if you look at any of the old drawings and artwork, that's it, they're always barrel chested and lean. Then you'd start to bulk him out. It's just a matter of work the stuff right into the background. If you want to, you can scratch this background up a bit. It's still fairly soft, so there's not a great deal of need for that. It's just a matter of roughly.
You're following your outline, aren't you, really, and filling in?
Yes, that's exactly what you're doing. You're just roughly bringing him down. Put the bulk of it on, and then.
I notice you're not putting any hair in that. Does that matter?
No, it depends. Not on a light thickness like this. If I was coming out any thicker, then I would probably put some cut fibre in it, some cut hair, cut really small. And if I was coming out even further, I would use an armature, which you could use stainless steel wire to build out the shape and put some stuff on it and leave it to harden up.
Because traditionally that would have been wood, would it?
It would have been twigs with straw in it, bound together and then coated up. That's exactly what it would have been, which is what I would do. I would put a cluster of twigs bound up with straw inside, pinned to the wall, and then harler coat over it and leave that to pick up and then work from that. So you've got something firm and solid on the base there. Okay, then we're bring this round. But the thing with pargeting is you must have plenty of these lovely curves. So everything, you see how his chest comes down and runs up to the point?
It's all flowing, isn't it, really?
Yes.
Flowing.
Everything's got a flow. Otherwise it just doesn't look right. Bring him round. Then you can start cutting away and working on him. Then a little hunch on the shoulders, just because he's running, giving him a little bit of confirmation and bulk and muscle. And then bring that ear in.
Because you have a particular interest, don't you, in animals and birds? And
Birds I do, yeah, but I've got 5 dogs, so I'm always walking around the countryside. So you're always looking at things. But most of this stuff comes from church work or old drawings, you know.
gosh, you can see it building up, can't you, beautifully?
This is, of course, a very simple, quick design for demonstration purposes. Again, you see, a hare's leg would never twirl round, almost like a bud, but in the Jacobean style, it most certainly would. Of course, the back leg, where all the power and the muscle is, you bring that out, so that was pronounced more than that.
It seems very therapeutic. I mean, it's therapeutic watching you work. Very calming.
I normally start the freezes off with an animal, a hare, or a dragon, something like that.
And which animals do you like to parge, if that's the right term, parge for yourself?
This is the commonest thing I do, is a hare. I mean, I must do 20 hares a year at the moment. You know, it seems that everyone wants hares. At one time it was cock pheasants, but the one I like doing the most are the dragons.
Oh, they're lovely, aren't they?
Yeah. Now, take a nice deep line out for that. Okay, and bring him up and down. Some people would measure these and get them dead exact, but I don't bother. I just swerve it along, so it's obviously hand moulded then. Okay. And we'll flatten him down, make him look a little like that work.
But it has that wonderful characteristic, doesn't it, of handcrafted.
Yes, so it should have.
It doesn't have that mechanical feel of having it something that's a mould and then applied.
You do see a lot of that now on new houses, these precast, done in stone resin and put up, but because they repeat themselves so evenly, they just look like an obvious cast, and I don't think that would readily apply to a...
Well, you're losing the skill, aren't you, there?
You are.
You're putting on leaves now, aren't you?
Yeah, just put on the leaves. Again, leaves don't curve like that, but you've got to stylise it a little bit, so we'll put the leaves on, slightly scratch it to get a key, put this final one on.
I noticed that everything seems to be running down of your cutting in.
Everything has to.
Is that for a particular purpose?
Yes, it is, to stop any water from sitting in the design. If any water sits in there and freezes during the winter period, then it could affect it. And so this here, just push the small tool in at an angle and raise the edges to those leaves. You see how that's raising up?
Yeah.
Same here. Push them in and raise it up, and then
it's all running down, isn't it?
Everything will run down, yeah. Find your centre line and draw it around at an angle, and then push it in and raise that up. So when that's all line washed, you won't lose any of your design. Okay, so that's your basic hair. These legs turn it into a bit of twisting vine.
And you have another process, is that right now?
I use these artist brushes, nice and soft, you know, fairly cheap to buy. And this will need brushing a couple of times. This is fairly wet at the moment. Normally you'd let it dry out a little bit and then start to brush them down. You see you've got that nice ridge up and down. You've got these flowing up and down lines on it all. You see how everything follows that sweeping flow. And that gives a nice textured surface then for the line wash to adhere to as well. You see, although this has only been on 4 or 5 minutes, already you can start to get that initial brushing and pushing it back into the wall. You see?
Mm-hmm.
So you can see it's obviously not something that's been moulded, cast and then stuck on.
You're sort of taking off those rough edges, aren't you?
Yes,
It's been
we are.
cut and it's softening the whole design.
Yes. And merging it, you see how that's merging it with an almost dry brush now. You should be 100 foot away to appreciate parging. You've got
and do you find that the taller the building, the deeper the greater the relief?
Yes, yes. The higher up, the further you are away, the higher the relief.
And you adjust that accordingly?
I do, yeah.
As you're brushing it in, Bill, it appears quite clearly to me that the whole thing is beginning to look ancient.
Well, yeah, this is the idea. If I brush it in, once it's had a few coats of lime wash as well, that really tones it back, and it gives the appearance that it's been here for a considerable amount of time. It's not just fresh and new. You see how that's blending it straight back into the wall. It may look a bit rough and ready on at the moment, but once it's had 2 more brushes, and that smooths itself right down, it have the same texture as the finished wall. It just blend in as part of the wall.
That now looks to me as it's nearly done.
That's good enough for now, Peter. That'll do.
Yeah.
That's done.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Okay.